Okay, and welcome. All right, Ww3 update. So, I'm out here once again, taking some photography, trying to work half in manual mode, half in the auto. It depends what I'm shooting, right? Okay, so the lighting's on. You think a guy who's a photographer would get lighting right? You'd think I would get it right, but no. Stand in the shade with a bright background. That's how you do it. Anyway. Oh, Bert Raccoon's up. I'll let him go by because it's going to get kind of noisy. Holy. Okay, the speed limit there is 50, right? And the car he just passed, okay, was doing probably about 60. And he passed that car about 4 times the speed. It was 4 minutes. That's a fast bike, man. Anyway, all right. Baltic Sea Fleet does drill. Okay, so the Russians, again, there's such mixed emotions. I hate to keep bringing up that 40 chess and 9-degree backgammon. When whatchamacallit, Lauren Southern talked about it, I guess because she's probably like, I don't want to say 40 chess, so 9-degree backgammon. So hats off to her for coming up with 9-degree back. I don't even know how to play 1-degree backgammon, let alone 9. But is this a part of it? There's some people out there know Trump is on the other side. He gave in to the state. Some people know he's playing the game. He's playing an abstract game to take down the state. And I think that's why we're getting such conflicting. There might be truth. I hope that's the case. But again, we can only judge the man on his actions, right? And Trump came out and said, on North Korea, he goes, I'm not going to tell you what the plan is. So we did that. We played that game before with Obama. I'm not going to tell you what the plan is. And maybe that is a part of his plan, is to keep everybody guessing. That is a great strategy. Okay, we're going to strike these guys. We're going to strike these guys. Nothing. Do you remember, was it the 67 war or the 6-day war in Israel? Egypt, Syria, and Jordan did a drill, and they did a drill. No, it's just a drill. It's just a drill. Just a drill. Operation Barbarossa with Hitler. Same thing. No, it's just a drill. Don't worry about it. They would do drills in this area, and then all of a sudden one day it wasn't a drill. They were actually coming across the Suez, right? So and all that stuff, and across the Golan. And the thing is that what Trump's doing? It's like, no, we're going to hit you. We're going to hit you. And then he doesn't hit them. Okay, no, we're not going to hit you. Yeah, we're going to hit you. No, we're not going to hit you. We're going to hit you. No, we're not going to hit you. But the only person you should be listening to is Trump himself. Now, did Trump give his military advisors complete free rein to do whatever? Because the warships right now, there's 2 more fleets going out to, 2 more carrier groups going out to meet the Carl Vinson off the coast of North Korea. Oh no, they're not. They're going to Australia now. Oh, they were on their way to Australia, but they're now going back to North. And it's back and forth. And what's real, right? That's confusing. Now, that's got to be confusing for the North Koreans too, because it's like, what are they doing? So it looks like there's a bit of a sleight of hand. Now, is a sleight of hand to stall to buy time? And there's another angle on this, and I'll just come out and say it. I think what Trump might be trying to do is to get North Korea into a war with China. It would be the best case scenario for the United States. But China, I don't think the Chinese are that stupid. I don't think he can dupe them that easily. Because again, they tried it with Ukraine to get Russia to go to war with Ukraine, and then that would broil into a larger Eastern Europe war, and that would wipe out the Russian troops. So by the time you decide to jump in, well, it's like if, kind of like World War II, where the Americans didn't come in until later. But if they would have got in at the beginning, the war probably would have dragged on a lot longer, regardless of how you feel about whether the war was, like all wars. I mean, if we get into war with North Korea, this is just something I'll say. No, there's some people that are like, yeah, but it's a bad regime and stuff like that. We need to overthrow this guy. Where does it end? And not only that, if all the other wars were false, why do you think this one would be any better? So, like, if we go to war with North Korea, you're going to have the same thing you had with Iraq. Oh, we went there believing we were doing the right thing, and then you find out it was all a lie, that you were going after North Korea, not because it's a dictatorship, but because of the opium fields, the opium trade, that type of thing. It always seems that it's either oil or opium or minerals or resources. That's the only reason why the United States ever invades a country. And I'm not blaming the U.S. people. It's the way their government. It's a death and debt based economy. So that's and us up here in Canada. Guess what? We're going to be jumping in on it. And you don't believe me? Well, hey, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. As soon as the United States goes to war with North Korea, we're in. It's already a done deal. It's already been across the mainstream media that we're jumping in on this. So that's what the world elites want. I guess they want. You know what? We didn't kill enough people in World War I. Didn't kill enough people in World War II. We'll get it right the third time, right? We killed everybody. Yay! Look at how great the planet is now. Smoldering radioactive waste everywhere. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the Russians are doing the drills. UK to take part in the Syria wants to take parts. This is coming from whatchamacallem, Corbyn. I think Corbyn, the guy. Everybody loves him apparently. Hey, stop the hate! Stop the hate! But yeah, he's out there. Yeah. Well, again, neocon. Just got to get into war. If you go to war, we're going with you. Who cares what the reason is? We'll find a reason after. That type of thing. New York Times, Thomas Friedman, this guy apparently wrote an article on how, we should be supporting ISIS because ISIS is getting rid of that evil Assad regime. You see how they try to butter it up in the sense that to get people to accept, that's a good point, yeah, because ISIS is getting rid of, really? And who would believe that? Okay, ISIS. The amount of atrocity, I don't know how they could call Assad a monster and completely turn a blind eye to ISIS. I got to do with my coat here. It's nice in the sun, but that wind's cool, eh? Yeah. Well, the Canadians always freaking, those beady-eyed Canadians always complaining about the weather. Yeah. So again, yeah, like. I wonder how many people would be reading that article. Oh, that's a good idea. Because they're already doing that. I mean, ISIS wouldn't exist without U.S., Israeli, Jordanian, Saudi, and Turkish backing. That's what created ISIS. That's the proxy army. They're turning them into something else now. There's another new group coming out. I don't know what they're calling it. The Syrian Defense Forces is mainly made up of Kurds. But there's the other factions in there. I believe those are the ISIS guys. They're al-Nusra, they're al-ISIS, whatever. And this new group, which is pretty much a spin-off of Al-Qaeda, like 6 degrees of separation of Al-Qaeda. But they're all really at the same day. It's the same jihadis. It's just rebranded. And Trump is still on that. He's still on that. He hasn't went against that. So, whenever you see these bills like Tulsi Gabbard coming out and saying, yeah, we need to pass a bill to not fund rebel jihadis. It's good that she says rebel jihadis because if you haven't picked up, and again, if you follow this channel, you already know, it's like all these groups that just pop up. At first it was the Free Syrian Army, and then it became Al-Nusra Front and Al-Sham and all that. And then, okay, well, those guys are the same guys, it's just they're Al-Qaeda, right? Okay, they're cutting people's heads off and doing all kinds of... they're doing all kinds of horrible atrocities, raping women and killing children. They're doing all these things. So they keep changing the name. So whenever all of a sudden you see a 100,000 man strong new group just come up out of nowhere, and ISIS is now no longer in that area. But now this new group's in that area. But they just came out of nowhere. Well, they just switched the name. You know what I mean? This isn't even 1 degree backgammon. This is like, okay, this is pretty basic to figure out. It's like, okay, we have 100 guys in that area that are terrorists today. But tomorrow there's 100 new guys there that are not terrorists, but nobody went in there. Wow, how did we do that? That's the most awesome slide ahead. It's called rename them. So, yeah, we're still funding those guys. Chinese bombers are basically... North Korea notifies China that they will be... Their nuclear test is pending. So the North Koreans haven't given up on this yet. There's strange activity going around North Korea, and some kids out on some bicycles. Everybody's out today. And basically, what's happening is that they're going to do the test, but apparently they were doing some sort of festival or something around the test site, and people were dancing and stuff like that, and doing some sort of North Korean propaganda thing. I guess it's kind of like, we're doing nothing here, whatever. And then, of course, there's a lot of these underground tunnels, so they're probably preparing everything underground, that type of thing. And the satellite images and stuff like that, they're super sharp. When there's stuff going on there, that doesn't concern me. It's when you don't see nothing. It's like there's no trucks coming in, whatever. Like a site like that is never going to be abandoned. So when you see nobody around, you know that that's when something's up. They're doing something underground. So they did notify China. Now, this is what I mean about maybe they're going to... Remember I mentioned this a long time ago, that they might try to either get China into a war with India or North Korea, or even possibly Vietnam, one of these countries? Well, the Chinese, now mind you, the Chinese could be posturing. They could be completely posturing. Because the Chinese always stay under the radar. They always stay out of everything. But if Trump's playing hardball and negotiate, the Chinese will say, oh, yeah, we're doing it. Look at all the things we're doing. We're putting troops on the borders. We're putting medical personnel ready for mass casualties on the borders and refugees. And we're getting our bomber fleet all ready to target North Korea. We're even going to put out the propaganda. Meanwhile, they probably contact Kim Jong-un and say, just put on a good show. Make it look like you're outraged when we say this. We're not going to do it. But then again, maybe China is doing it on purpose. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, But I can't see the Chinese being that stupid. I mean, these people plan, I'm not saying every Chinese person is brilliant, but they do think in terms of dynasty in chess games. I mean, how do you think they got this far? Think about China in 1991. They were still living in the 1950s. They looked a lot like North Korea now. And then NAFTA comes along and look at the freaking... can you imagine if they weren't even corrupt? Holy jeez, they would have how big their empire would be now? Man. I mean, they were smart enough to come up with a way to, here's how we conquer the world without firing a shot. We buy everything, that type of thing. So Trump's out there saying, no, the Chinese aren't manipulating the currency. Of course they are. How do you think they got where they are? Of course they're... So, again, Trump's sending out mixed signals as well. So who knows what's really going on there, but that's one thing. And China's also putting their fighters and bombers on high ready alert for North Korea. So they say. That's the reports. It doesn't mean that's actually what they're doing. But then again, think about it this way. They could have a deal with the North Koreans. Okay, if they attack you, you let us know. You let us know right away. We'll say we're preparing for them. But it's the perfect Trojan horse for the Chinese to be ready for attack from the United States. So all they got to do is say, oh yeah, no, we're going to join in on it and then whatever. So we're going to put all our guys here. We're going to go put our Chinese guys and missile systems on the islands over there just in case North Korea does them. They're just going to spin it like that. And if we start seeing island buildups where it's, oh no, this is for North Korea, but okay, North Korea's here, but the island's over here, then we know what the Chinese are doing. The Chinese at that point are, they're getting ready to lock down the South China Sea. Meaning, when the United States starts shooting at the North Koreans, they'll let them shoot at the North Koreans. But if the real goal is not to get a war going, because they know if the United States gets a war going with North Korea, it's eventually going to spill over into China. They know this. They're not stupid. So what they would probably do then is like, okay, well, we'll just pretend that we're going to, accompany the United States, get all our assets in place so that if it does turn into a shooting war, they can defend themselves. Again, the U.S. naval fleet isn't going to have a chance against 1,500 missiles coming at it at once. It's just not going to happen. Now, the other thing about the warships, get into that. No, I'll get into it now before I forget. There's so much to cover here. So if I repeat it again, I apologize, but I got lots to cover on this page. I don't even think I'm on the right page. I'm on the wrong page. I started on the back page, but anyway. Okay, so you got something interesting that can happen here. We know that submarines, we got a whole bunch of people on skateboards, all the kids are going to the parks and everything. Right, so we know we got submarines in the air, probably Ohio-class submarines with about 150 cruise missiles on the beach. So that means there's a good chance that what could be happening is that the warships are the distraction. No, they're going here. No, they're going there. So while North Korea is paying attention to the warships, in slips the submarines that nobody's really paying attention to. And the submarines will definitely have an advantage over anything North Korea, because the North Koreans, they can get rid of warships with missiles, but how do you get rid of submarines? Deck charges and other submarines. You know, it would be, I think the U.S., that's probably what they would send in. So we'll keep our warship over here, about 300 miles off the coast of North Korea, keep them dancing and pointing at that. Meanwhile, you know, 2 miles out, you got an Ohio class with 150 cruise missiles ready to pummel your, you know, and if you got 2 of them there, you got 300 cruise missiles ready to do strategic strikes. Now, the problem with those strategic strikes from cruise missiles is it's kind of like Navy SEALs. You got six ways in and 24 ways out. You know, because once a submarine starts firing missiles, you know where the submarine is, and depending on, I don't know how good this the North Korean submarine detection would be, but like anything, once you know the area, you got a search grid. A submarine, no matter, even a submarine zipping away at 20 knots, it'll make too much noise zipping away at 20 knots, so you'll find it just through the noise. And if it goes any slower than that, well, whatever it is, it'll just circling the grid with a couple of hundred airplanes in maritime patrol, they'll eventually find you. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So who knows? That could be the play. Russia brought a pile of, and I couldn't clearly see what kind of missile systems they were. They look like older missile systems, but a pile of missile systems, mobile missile launchers to the coast of North Korea, or to the border of North Korea. So who knows what the Russians are preparing for there. But like the Chinese, they might be playing, they're definitely, whatever they're going to be doing, they're going to be coordinating with the Chinese, because the goal is probably to make sure that nothing can get around that border and sneak into North Korea, which I don't think, sneaking into North Korea, I still don't see that as a viable option for the U.S. Although they're making it sound like, oh, we got SEAL Team 6 there, they're going to go, again, the 6'4", blue-eyed, blonde-haired American running around these 5'4", 5'1" North Koreans, they're going to stand out. You know, the only thing they can do in there is SEAL Team 6, you're not going to get them in there. They're going to get killed. You know, there's no way you're going to get them in there. It's a logistic nightmare. There's just too many North Koreans. Like, you'd have to have some sort of invisible cloak to do this, because there'd just be nowhere to do it. The only way they could do it is using North Korean spies. It's the only way they can take out Kim Jong-un. SEAL Team 6 would not. It's just think about it. You know, just think about it. How do you get these guys in there? Even as tourists or whatever, you still can't get them in there. You know, like. Success. It'd be a suicide mission out for one. Just because even if they could get Kim Jong-un, they'd never get out of there. There'd be so many North Korean soldiers tracking them. It's just. So I think that's more propaganda than anything. So decapitation strike, get them, rile up North Korea, but I can't see them getting in there. Yeah. So the 2 U.S. subs talked about those. Russia talked about, and especially in the area near North Korean border where they are, they said that they got stuff, EMP equipment that could wipe out the entire U.S. Navy in the region. Basically, we know about the U.S. Donald Cook a couple of years ago basically having its electronics fried out by the Su-24s. We still don't know what the Russians are using, and I do believe the strike in Syria had more to do with the idea of, it's about to get noisy, he's back. Is he going to take the trailer or just fuel up the field? Oh, wheelie, nice. I don't know who that is, though. Anyway, the thing is quite simple, is that there's reports that no, that didn't happen, but there is a lot of reports that, yeah, that did happen. I mean, they had to go and rescue the Donald Cook. So whatever they fried out the electronics, that type of thing. Wheelie. couple of girls there. The young lad sees us always do. Oh, you put back on that one. Spinning up the park. Anyway, sorry. You wouldn't be able to hear me anyway. Anyway, I might have to go. Doing wheelies in front of the girls. No, yeah. That's what normal boys do. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, yeah, the EMP possibilities there. That is a thing. Now there is 2 North Korean satellites in orbit. A lot of people think that they're most likely they definitely would be communication satellites for the most part, because most people in North Korea don't even have hydro, let alone internet or something like that. So there's a good chance that those are some sort of weapon up there. I would imagine EMP would be the only weapon that would be worthwhile for them to put up there, if that's what's up there. But that said, 2 satellites, I think they get shot down pretty quickly. But then again, as a preemptive, the North Koreans could do that. How effective it would be, I don't know. There was a U.S. Off the Carl Vinson. There was an F-18 pilot who had to do an ejection. Apparently, the guy made it. So I wonder if I think it was just an F-18. I don't think it was a Super Hornet. So I don't know if that was another machine. Again, this is a big problem I have. Remember, only a month or 2 ago. How am I doing for time here? That there was. A big problem. We were talking about it up here in Canada about buying the Super Hornets for stopgap. We're supposed to get 18 of them, but we can't get them because there's not enough parts for them. So the Navy fleet is pretty much in shambles. So that means their frontline fighter, which the United States, you might as well say, has 2 true. Well, we'll say 3 frontline fighters that are like really fighters. And then 1 is the Super Hornet, 2 is the F-22, and the F-15. We'll call those frontline fighters. Everything else is like strike. Like the other ones can be used as frontline fighters, but when we're talking their biggest, baddest, meanest, that's what it is, right? And the 2 most modern, which being the Super Hornet and the F-22. F-22 is it's a maintenance nightmare. For every 1 hour flown, you're talking 30 hours of maintenance. So what happens when you fly an 8-hour mission? 240 hours to work on 1 airplane? That's how big of a crew is that? You know what I mean? Holy jeez. Here they all go. So, I think I picked a bad spot today. Out in the park, and everyone's going to be doing wheelies and everything. Oh, that's good. Nice to see people out. So hopefully you can hear me. So anyway, I'll just wait till these guys go by a little bit more. So anyway, North Korea has been scrambling soldiers all over the country and setting up everywhere. So I guess what they're doing is basically having all, crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and making sure there's people everywhere. And so if something does happen. So they're doing that. Yeah, North Korea is ready for the test. You've got B-52s and drones, basically in Guam. Some more B-52s going to, well, I'll wait till they go. Sounds like mosquito. That's the only thing louder than the mosquitoes around here in the summertime is dirt bikes. It's kind of glorious though. But anyway, yeah. So they're basically they got ready for the test. So we got more B-52s going into the area. I don't think the B-52s, if they're firing cruise missiles, that's okay. They'll be able to do quite a bit that way. But I don't think they'll be able to do much in the terms of after, because you'll be able to detect them, right? They're really big aircraft, so even the North Koreans probably can still detect them. I'm just going to probably move locations. It's getting way too noisy here. My studio is really noisy today. There we go. So anyway, so while we got that going on, what else we got here? Like I was saying, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, there's a good chance there will be a draft if they're warming us up on the mainstream media, saying that if the United States goes to war with North Korea, we're in. And this is all over the mainstream media, at least up here in Canada anyway. Maclean's was talking about it, the Toronto Star, CBC, all those places. Now I'm in the... no, I'm going to go to the benches. Yeah, fine. You can make noise when I'm here, and then all the bike guys are going to come back, and away you go. So again, it's not even a question of, okay, should we go to war? It's like, okay, no, if we go to war, we're in. Okay, well, you know what? Before you make that judgment call for everybody, maybe you want to consult the people. Now, notice how they never, no, we just got to go to war. We can't question it. That would be stupid, right? Okay. Holy geez, look at the ponds here. That's crazy. All the bottles. Where'd all the bottles come from? Oh, I can't get to the park. No. I'll be swamped out. But I got a whole bunch of picnic tables. So they can sit on the park over there. I'll sit on the benches over here. All right, so anyway. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. This. Probably not the most professional World War III, and they're probably going to get a lot of wind here. So, but anyway, it's a nice day, and I've been stuck inside the entire winter. I'm not even going to say forgive me. I'm like, screw you, man. I've been stuck inside all winter. I'm going to go out here where it's nice. On the wrong side of the page. Okay. This is a big one coming from Russia. Basically, yeah, the wind. That's what I thought would happen. Got a thing called Fedor, and this thing can manipulate guns. It's a big robot. It's like a Terminator-style robot. Like, my God. Fedor, Fedor, the Terminator Russian robot, and apparently this thing can shoot some 9 mils or whatever. Pretty impressive. Operation Neptune Falcon. This was in Missouri, I believe. With B-2 basically stealth bombers. They were doing a drill. Activity around the North Korean test site. Where did I go on here? Al-Baghdadi may have been captured again. Believed to have been captured in Syria. Hopefully this time they kill him, because that guy, he's been captured like 5 times. He's been airstriked by the Iraqis. He's been, but yet he always seems to get away. I wonder how that is, But then again, when you're good friends with John McCain and you're taking pictures with him, maybe that has something to do with it. North Korean Storm Corps. Yeah. They've got this group of North Korean spies or soldiers, whatever called, Storm Corps, North Korea Second Storm Corps. And what these guys do is they go around, they kidnap people, they execute people, they do whatever. And apparently Kim Jong-un is going to try to get these guys out. Wind, motorbikes, little girls. Everything's interrupting my video today. And hats off to the Auburn police for basically demasking some Antifa guys. Nice to see some cops actually being able to do their job. Mother of all marchers in Venezuela. If you haven't seen Venezuela is just a basket case. I'm just going to move down a bit. I had to get out of the wind, but I had to get out of the wind in an open field, eh? I just got to branch it off a little bit. Sorry, I'm just going to move my camera down. God forbid I forget this thing here. All right, so tables might break the wind a little bit. Okay, so now we got, what else we got here?
Oh yeah, and of course Russia's come out with it. Oh yeah, you've got mother of all bombs. That's very nice. Me love my mother too. I love my mother so much. She's so beautiful lady. She cook very well. She make me fat like kid, so I live well, But I got father of all bombs. He's big daddy, like I mean big. You see the fireworks off of this guy. He like leveled the place. He's got a temper. You don't want to get father of all bombs real mad. Very angry. He smashed planet. All right, so. Now I lost all my Russian subscribers. Anyway, the other thing too over here in Canada, we got 900 illegals in April, but 800 and something. So 900 illegals. Basically, our RCMP are told to stand down. This is a problem, and again, I wanted to point this out again about how just following orders is, and this is the indication whenever they tell the people to start shooting at the citizenry, why they'll do it. You've got RCMP officers that won't arrest these illegals, and a lot of them are, trust me, if they're bad in the States where these people are criminals, a lot of them, and have jihadi links, it's the same people coming up here. So we got that problem here too. And they're just following, well, we were told to stand down. Same thing at the Battle of Berkeley. These cops standing there, well, we were told to stand down. Don't want to lose my job now. So they're not going to uphold rule of law. They'll just follow orders. You see what I mean? That's what it worked. Canadian Prepper, that video response he did to somebody else, and I don't know when, it should be either out today or tomorrow or the next day, of my response to that. And that video, he talked about, yes, martial law is possible in the United States. Well, it's possible anywhere. But the thing is that they're back. The thing is that yeah, most cops and military are just going to whatever orders. They'll feel bad about it after, but usually history never paints a pretty picture when it comes to police officers following orders. No matter how patriotic they are, they usually do whatever they're told to do. I'm not trying to demonize. I'm just saying that is the reality of the situation. So you might want to take that into consideration. Yeah, so the U.S. Armada steering into the opposite fleet, going to again, what is that all about? One day it's no, they're going to join up with the North Korean fleet. The next day they're not. Maybe, have the generals or the captains of the ships gone rogue? That's a possibility too. Maybe, we don't know, because there could be generals and captains and whatever that are like, okay, no, we're going to do what Mr. Trump wants to do. And then other ones, no, we're going to do what the deep state wants. Now, that said, he's coming down here somewhere. Okay, yeah, I know, I got it on here. Yeah, we don't know. So, the other thing is if Trump does a 180 degree on climate change thing, Ivanka Trump and Jared, I really, really am suspicious. More Jared than anything, because Ivanka's going to do whatever her husband says, pretty much. I know, misogynist, whatever. But I really don't trust that Jared Kushner. This guy's got connections to George Soros. Maybe he's just playing the game, I don't know. But Goldman Sachs bankers, takes money from George Soros. Son-in-law what's he manipulating his daughter to do, right? Like Trump's daughter to do. Dad, can you do this for me, Dad? Well, you do, but you're going to upset Jared, like that. You know how daughters are, right? So, what will Dad do for his daughter? You know what I mean? Yeah, if he does a 180 degree turn on the climate change stuff and climate, all that scam, then then we know he's with the deep state. There's just, it's right now things aren't looking good. But I'm trying again. I don't think Trump is going to be the savior that people think. At best, he's just a guy that's sporadic and changes his mind, whatever he thinks is the best to go. At worst, he's actually he was a plant all along. Wishful thinking, he's actually really playing that 9-degree backgammon against the New World Order. That type of thing. I think that's just where we are at this point. I can't call it any other way. F-22s escort Tu-95 Bears, as well as up here, some Canadian CF-18s were scrambled as well between Canada and Alaska. But again, these Tupolovs were out in international airspace, like whatever. So they weren't like 5 miles off our border. They're 300 miles off our border over the Arctic. So we went up to intercept them. Of course, it's all over the news. Russians are coming, that type of thing. But that's that's nothing new. The Tu-95s, the only thing that's new with the Tu-95s probing the borders is the frequency, which actually I believe is down. I haven't been reporting on Tu-95 and Tu-160 intercepts as much this year so far. That's a good thing. So the Russians have calmed down a bit, but I have a feeling if the Russians get nervous with Trump, they're going to start doing the testing, and you'll see more like we did. I think in 2015 it was like a record for, Cold War 2.0. Even during the Cold War, like you might have one intercept every couple of years. Sometimes maybe once every 6 months or every 2 months or whatever. And that was probably the height of the first Cold War. But in 2015, I forget how many excursions there were. I covered older, and don't be afraid to go over some of my older Ww3 updates. But it was like record years. Like everybody was intercepting Russian bombers everywhere. Now, how much of that was Russian bombers being intercepted 300 miles off the coast? Not a threat. Well, not a threat if you're not provoking them. That type of thing. A threat in the sense that, 300 miles off the coast, a Tu-95 Bear can fire a 2,000-mile ranged cruise missile, and they can carry up to 12 of these suckers. So, in that sense, it's a threat. But it's not a threat as it's making real acts of aggression towards us. So, is it news? Is it not news? Who knows? But anyway, just to be aware of it. More F-35s are on their way to Europe. I think there's 6 there in the Eastern Europe theater already. Again, I don't have much faith in the F-35. I think it works great when it works, but I like the F-22. How do you keep something? I mean, an F-15 was pretty high maintenance, and so was the F-14s. But even at that, 30 hours of routine maintenance for every 1 hour used for the F-22. God knows what the F-35 is going to be like. What is that going to be? 100 hours per hour flown? You just can't keep that. Again, where like something like a MiG-21. Okay, well, here's what we'll do. We'll keep the MiG-21s back for 3 weeks in the beginning of the war because those things can fly for 100 hours straight and not have to replace anything. Like they could pretty much take off a grassy, dirty fields. If you ever seen Russian airfields, they pretty much look like this field, but they're a little bit flatter. That's it. You've got grass going through the frickin' the concrete. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So the Russian airfields their equipment is meant to take off of really harsh conditions. The MiG-21s, obviously, against an F-22 probably wouldn't stand a chance. But if you had 500 MiG-21s in the air, or 1,000 of them in the air, that don't need maintenance for 2 weeks, that could be a huge advantage. And if you bring those out later in the war, that's where you get the advantage. You just have a numerical superiority. Bloomberg lied about the North Korea firing its missile test missiles into China. See, it's lies like that, again, Gulf of Tonkin incidents where things that didn't happen. So Bloomberg, again, apparently these guys don't get called fake news when they do this, but they said, China fired missiles into North Korea. Shit like that could start wars, and that's what they would love to happen, again. But again, Bloomberg, tells you all you need to know. Moving down here, how am I doing for time? Oh, not too bad, China's APZ-S9M. What was that thing? APS-9M. Oh, that's the missiles that they believe, or the missile technology that they're giving to the North Korea. And there was another guy that Greg Hunter had on his program. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was talking about the 7-year cycles, and he said, you have a 7-year cycle, and then you have a rest, and then everything kicks up again. And he was talking about how we're definitely in the 7-year cycle for a war, and he was calling for massive problems at the end of April, around the 25th to the 29th, something like that, which everybody's, with the 25th, there's going to be a big celebration in North Korea, and who knows? So hopefully this guy's wrong, but he's a little more of the biblical guy. But he does use the cycles, and he goes in the 7-year and 49-year and whatever increments, and he's kind of like a Cliff High kind of guy, but more from a biblical kind of point of view. Where Cliff High is more of a linguistics guy. He uses computer algorithms, which Cliff High is a very, very interesting guy too. So said. He's predicting some sort of a market crash by the end of this month, which we're getting pretty close. It's now the 23rd of April, if I didn't say that earlier. Our good friend Henry Kissinger, that freaking piece of slimeage, was basically witnessed at a Florida military base. I didn't get the name of the base, but basically they believe it was Kissinger that actually ordered the strike on Syria, and apparently General Dunsford didn't know until 15 minutes after the airstrike had began, and this comes from a whistleblower. Again, take it with a grain of salt, because there's some people out there that do try to get fame. But Ahmed. This guy was basically groomed by the CIA, so to speak, to be. And this guy's he's on the run, I guess, is what I'm getting out of it. But basically, he was saying no, they were trying to set him up for a false flag, that type of thing. Now, whether that's true or not, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. But Kissinger, so this would make sense, because again, when you look at where these missiles were flung. Now, the thing is we know Kissinger's deep state. This is the guy he's the guy who came up with the Gulf of Tonkin. Zygmunt Brzezinski, George Soros, Henry Kissinger, Rothschilds, Rockefellers. Always comes back to those people. They're the worst people on the planet. Even had Evelyn de Rothschild out there not too long ago say, yeah, we need to go to war in Syria because, humanitarian. No, it's not. It's death and destruction. Death and debt-based economy, right? U.S. Was seen evacuating more spies from Syria. So again, they're going into these little towns, pulling people out. They've been doing this now for a couple of months. And then, of course, you're seeing all these new groups pop up. New ISIS group, here we go, as I call them. They're a spin-off of Friends of Syria. They're supported by them. So that means they'll also be supported by the Al-Qaeda, White Helmets, and stuff like that. Assad, I was listening to Assad, and he was bringing out a few more things about how, so far nobody of the investigations and stuff like that. He says the investigations, you got a guy that was connected to Jihadi John, everybody's taking this guy's word for, about how the attacks in Syria, and that, they came up with all this information that no, Assad used sarin and stuff like that. But there's a lot more stuff that people are pointing out that's definitely not sarin. Number one, they smelt it. And he says, like sarin, again, by the time you realize there's sarin, it's like, oh, crap. World War I and stuff like that, they used to bring canaries and doves and stuff like that into the trenches because the gas was usually heavier than air and it would go down, right? And a lot of times, if you've just seen a bird drop, put on your mask. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Kind of like the canary in the coal mine, but only this is a canary in the trench. So you don't. It's chlorine you will smell, but sarin gas, VX gas, those things you won't smell, and those things will kill you so fast. And again, everybody pointing out that people handling what they do believe it is some sort of, because when Assad did destroy his chemical weapons. Most of the stuff, what they do is they mix the weapons. It has a shelf life, so they take the ingredients, they mix it together, it makes the sarin, it makes whatever, and then they have XYZ amount of time to do it. And it takes a lot of preparation to do this. There'd be a lot of activity on an airbase to be able to prepare chemical weapons. The destroying process is basically you mix them, and then you let them kind of expire or whatever. And I can imagine there's other agents they put in there. Now, it still becomes lethal, but it loses its military grade and stuff like that to the point where it'll be lethal, but it won't be as lethal. So they believe that it's some sort of low-grade sarin that might have been used, but it's more likely and Al-Qaeda, and again, the only groups that have ever been, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, are the only ones that have ever been really evidence that showed that they were using chemical weapons. There has been no concrete evidence. A lot of the mainstream media, yeah, well, Assad used chemical weapons on his people 50 times, but that's been debunked. But yet that's still the narrative on the TV. I don't know if you guys heard Bill O'Reilly. I never watch Fox or CNN, or I don't get hardly any information from them at all because I don't believe them. Plus, I don't get it up here on my satellite. We don't have those. We're not subscribed to those channels, that type of thing. So I basically go off the CBC up here. That's about the only mainstream news that I follow on the mainstream. Just because I know whatever they're saying, that's what CNN and Fox and all them are saying to a degree. Different partisans, sure, it's on the left, but for the most part, I get an idea of what they're saying. Now, one of the things is with Bill O'Reilly, apparently for sexual harassment, he's been fired or whatever. It's getting to the point where men and women won't be allowed to work together because it's just, it's just too much of a risk. Whatever. I think there's probably more to it than that. Now, that said, the one good thing about it is, if he does decide to do the right thing, he can now say, he could really take down that network if he wants. Well, they told me to say this. They told me to say that. Here's what the truth is. And this guy has an opportunity to make himself larger than life. Yeah, he's a douchebag. Everybody knows that. But maybe he can become a good douchebag. It's like, well, you took a bullet. You might as well take another one. Okay, they wrecked your reputation, but now you could just smear them through the mud. You could just say, okay, well, look, while I was there, they fired me, that's fine. But when I was there, I had to do this. Megyn Kelly could do the same thing, but she's not. Again, these people, if they had any integrity, that's the problem. All these, they have egos, but they don't have integrity. And if they did have integrity, well, number one, I think Megyn Kelly's going to from Fox to NBC. So again, now she's going to be a flaming liberal. Like, I mean, where's your integrity? You know what I mean? You don't change. Leopards don't change response that fast. So that tells you these people don't. But the thing is that they could do something right and just go completely independent. Start a small blog or whatever. It's not like they don't have enough money. They could never work another day. I mean, these people get like what, $50-60 million a year, $10 million a year, $20 million. It's like millions of dollars. You telling me your lifestyle is so lavish that you can't, like if somebody gave me $1 million, I could live off of that for the rest of my life at the quality of life I'm living. That's 10 grand a year for 100 years. Okay, I can make do with that. It wouldn't be a great living. $2 million, okay, 20 grand a year. $5 million, I'm good for the rest of my life. Just subtract 43 years and I add that onto the, and if I make it past 100, well, fine. At that point, I don't care if I have money anyway, because I'll be so grumpy. I have cataracts so thick you can stand on them. I won't even be able to see who I'm yelling at. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. So I'm not worried about that. But what I am looking at is that even with all the censorship and all that going around and all these truth squads and all these things, it's not working. It's not going to work. They will not be able to. They're not going to get out on the top end on this in the long run. And something Cliff High was talking about, how you were going to see newscasters leaving the mainstream media and stuff like that. You're going to see people jumping ship. And, okay, this could come about as firing is one way, quitting is another, truther blowouts is another. We've already seen a few newscasters, like, for example, Ben Swan. Anybody know where he is? And I remember he said he was going to go dark, but when he comes back, he's going to have, like, something spectacular to show us. And if there's somebody there's two guys that I find that are really good, although I don't agree on everything. Philip DeFranco. I like Philip DeFranco because he gives you both sides of the argument. He has his bias to the left. There's no doubt about that. He's probably closer to a moderate liberal than anything, and that's fine as long as, again, moderation is good. But with Ben Swan, it's like, here's what we know. Think for yourself. And I love the fact that here's what we know for sure. Here's what we know for sure. And his reality checks, I think, was just fantastic. That is real journalism. That's why it's so refreshing when people see it. It's like, it don't matter if you're, but the problem, and one of Sargon of Akkad's, I guess he was on a vacation or whatever, and usually what he'll host other people on his channel. And one guy started talking about media and how he worked for, I forget, I don't know if he worked for Media Matters or whatever, but he said, yeah, the hyper-partisanship is what sells, but it's so, basically, everything is here and nothing over here. Well, we're going to cover this angle of it, but nothing else. So I call that lie by omission. But sometimes it's just hyper-partisanship, and other times not. Now, if you're from the making of this video last night or the night before, and I'll just end up on this. It doesn't have anything to do with World War III, but just to get so you get what I'm talking about. Faith Goldie from Sun News, who I like. I think she's a good reporter. I think she is partisan. There's no doubt about that. Pro-Israel, very right wing. Okay, fine. Give her that, and you know that partisan's there. There's no lie about that. But then she covered about, for example, how different gun laws for Muslims. For when we get our PAL, possession acquisition license, we have to take a photograph, right? And they said if there's religious reasons why not to take the photograph, there's another form you fill out, so you can have your license but no photograph, which again defeats the purpose of having the card, right? But that's just me. So she automatically defaults to that it's a specialty law for Muslims. Now I'm like, well, I can't do that. I can't, and I bash radical Muslims all the time. I know there's peaceful ones. I think I'm pretty nonpartisan on that. I'm sure somebody, no, Reg, you're a complete asshole when you talk about that, and you could be right too, right? But again, that's why I never censor my comments. You guys saved me from being me. You know what I mean? Like, and I get people on my channel all the time. Reg, I disagree with 90% of what you say, but I watch because at least you give both sides of the story as best you can, and I want to get better at that. Because that's where honesty lies. It's in the gray, not in the black or the white. But she said that, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Something clicked right away. I'm part Native. You guys know that. Native Irish, French, McTonto, LeBlanc. My roots, so far, I've traced back to 1725. That was the first known relative that I know in this country from the old world, right? So we're talking New France territory. But the thing is my native side, one thing I know, and if you've ever gone to a powwow, you'll know right away, there are no pictures allowed. There are no pictures allowed in the circle, because in the circle it is sacred. We do not take pictures. You will steal our souls if you do that. So, Mr. Whiteman, put your camera away. Enjoy the day. You can take pictures after. Get off my land. All right, so anyway, now I lost all my native subscribers. The thing is that I know that. I know that there's some natives, you can't take don't take my picture. And these are moderate people. These are people that, they go to work. They got cell phones. They got computers. But just don't take my picture, man. Other ones, they don't care. Hey, take my picture. Like one of my Inuit friends, man, I got probably 10,000 pictures of these two brothers. These guys are awesome. They don't give a shit. But I remember it was a girl I went to school with. Again, you'd think she was completely modern, but she still had that belief system. Don't take my picture. Photography's only like, I'll just wrap this up here. Photography's only like, I don't know, 200 years old, 250 years old, whatever. So it's not an ancient belief system. It is fairly modern, but it could be that. It could be. Now the natives, yes, they don't have to get PALs if they're on reserve, but depends on their status or whatever. But that could be it as well. So that is, why is this important that I tell you this? Well, because that's not looking at the black or the white and hyper-partisan. Bang, no, there's the gray area. So this might not be that. So that's why I can't come out and say that for 100%. That's what it is. But you can see how quickly, even somebody who I admire as much as Faith Goldie for her reporting abilities, and she does a bang-up job, don't get me wrong, we still have to weed through that partisan. And this is what we're getting with the mainstream media in hyper-partisanship, whether it's on the left or the right, like the CBC, everything. We saw the CBC, this group of doctors in Canada, there's 300 children shot every year in Canada, 360 children, almost a child a day, or 358 children, and then we turned out it's BB guns and airsoft guns, and 90% of it was like paintball incidents, right? So, and they were considering children, people from between the ages 1 day old and 27. At 27. Okay, technically the brain is still developing up until 25, but you're not a kid after 18. You know what I mean? Like you're starting to become a young adult. But you see how the spin was, and that's the problem with these war games and stuff like that. That, like, for example, oh my God, Canada had to scramble. Fighters the day after the Americans scrambled some F-22s to go meet the Russians up at the top of the Arctic there. Okay, yeah, but what they didn't tell you was 300 miles out. As soon as you say these bombers were 300 miles out, okay, yeah, so they're not in our airspace. They're not. they're well outside the 12 or 20 mile zone. You know what I mean? They've got another 280 miles before they're in our airspace. So yes, their cruise missiles can reach into here, but they're not anywhere where we wouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. So is it the Russians probing? Yes, technically they're probing. That's why they wouldn't send it in the region unless that's the Cold War thing. It's when they're hugging your border, like the B-52s, like 1 mile or 10 miles off the border of Russia. Sure, they're, but that's close. You know what I mean? When the Russians send out a Tu-160 and it hugs the European coast, goes around the Baltics, then past Scotland, people could see the backfires and the white swans and whatever flying by. They can see these things. Okay, when they can see them, then they're right on the border. And that is definitely the Russians probing. Again, I don't look at, and again, a lot of people I get accused from this. Oh, you're a Putin lover. No, I don't trust him. I wouldn't want to live under Putin. But I don't. The thing is he's just the other New World Order guy. Again, we look at the two empires: transatlantic Anglo-American Empire, Canada, the United States, Europe, the petrodollar, Eurasian Pacific Empire. Okay, China, Russia, Iran. I'm sure North Korea will eventually come to their senses and join that as well. And I can imagine Syria will be on that one. India's already on that one. It will get there. So you have two empires, and there's no good guys. Governments around the world have failed everybody. They're just not doing what's in best of the people, because we wouldn't have all this craziness if they were, right? So that's just something to look at. So that is important. Now, just to wrap up, the channel, okay, May's going to be a little bit different. I did successfully do my 120 videos this month, 90 on this channel. I tried to do 3 a day. Sometimes it didn't work out 3 days. Sometimes you got 4 days. Sometimes you got 2 a day. But whatever. But I got 120 channels done. Mission accomplished. 90 on this channel and 30 on my professional Canadian Beaver Walker channel, which that channel is going to take a long time, but I'll have you know, I'm at 1.3 cents. Less than 30 days in, 61 subscribers at the making of this video, a little over 200 views. But humble beginnings. I should have done this last year, and I'd be probably okay this year. That said, the demonetization. Now, there's some people say, Reg, I still see commercials on your advertising on your videos. That is true. But the thing is the way I can explain it is this. Yeah, the advertisement there. Now, I have a couple of hunches of what YouTube's actually really doing. Because yes, sometimes even when my video shows that it's not advertiser friendly and it's in the yellow and it's up for review, it's still monetized. But I might not be getting any money from it. So you guys see the ad, YouTube is getting the money from it, and Google's getting the money from it, but I'm not getting the money from it. The best way I could say, let's say you made $20 an hour, and you could see that, let's say you worked in the 8-hour day, so you got $160 a day that you're making. And every day you're seeing, okay, the next day, you're still making $20 an hour, strangely, but now it's at $158, and the day after it's at $147, and then $142. Well, that's what's happening to YouTubers, is a couple of bucks a day is just going. They're even demonetizing, like, my coin videos that I put out, like exactly what's not monetizer friendly about showing you a silver coin. You know what I mean? That's what's happening to us. The problem is it's not hitting a plateau. It's not hitting a bottom. It's still going down. So if I go from January, where I guess in the switching of the algorithms, where they let my channel run for a month, which was really nice, and I thought 2017 is going to be a great year. No. You're going to get knocked off your horse right away. Then the next month, it was down by a lot. Then the month after that, which was last month, it basically went down by a certain amount. And then this month, it went down by about half of what it went down by last month. Now, if it goes down by what it went down in March, I'm beyond on the wire. At that point, that May will be the last month I get paid, probably. Or June. So it's May or June is the end of the channel, in that sense, for payment. And I have that much time, possibly. I do have May kind of covered. Again, I'm at about 520 some odd bucks that I've gotten about 100 and some odd dollars in donations this month. But from last year to now, I've got enough donations to pay my rent. I still got the money for my car. I still got that, so I can live off that stuff. It's just as soon as I burn up that money, I might got 2 months, 3 months. So I'm in the fringes of trying to find other streams of income. Photography is coming in on this, stuff like that. I'm in desperation mode right now, but doesn't mean it's down and out. But the thing is that May is going to be skimpier. May you're going to see less videos, but hopefully better quality videos. But you are going to see less because I gotta eat. I gotta make money somehow. I've got 5 patrons, which I thank you guys so much, but that's a long way. I got to make $400 for my rent and probably another $200 to live off of to just live. But anyway, next to that, I do have my links down below if you want to support the channel. I got my Patreon and my PayPal. Thank you so much to everybody who has.